Welcome back. Today's video is all about tricky questions that often appear on the California licensing exam. We'll go through each question carefully and show you how to avoid falling for it. Let's start with question number 1. Question number 1. Which type of estate in California grants ownership for a specific period only? A. Fee simple absolute. B. Life estate. C. Leasehold estate. D. Tenancy in common. The correct answer is C. Leasehold estate. Here's the explanation. A leasehold estate gives someone the right to occupy and use a property for a fixed period, like 6 months or 1 year. It's temporary, and it does not transfer full ownership. Now, here's where this question tricks people. It uses the word estate, which most students associate with ownership. That leads many to choose simple or tenancy in common. Thinking estate always means owning, but in real estate, estate can refer to any legal interest in property, including temporary possession under a lease. To avoid this trap, do not assume estate always means full ownership. Read the clue, specific period. That always points to leasehold. Question number 2. What encumbrance gives a creditor the right to sell a property? A. Easement. B. Encroachment. C. Mortgage lien. D. Restrictive covenant. The correct answer is C. Mortgage lien. Let's explain this clearly. A mortgage lien is a financial claim placed on a property by a lender. If the borrower fails to pay, the lender can foreclose and force the sale of the property to recover the debt. That's the key point. This type of encumbrance allows a sale. Now here's the tricky part. The word encumbrance often makes students think of easements or restrictions. While those are also encumbrances, they do not involve financial rights or the power to sell. An easement allows use, not foreclosure. An encroachment is a physical intrusion, not a financial claim. And a restrictive covenant limits what you can do with the property, but it does not give anyone the right to sell it. Question number 3. Under California water law, who holds riparian rights? A. Surface owner. B. Riparian landowner. C. Government. D. Mineral rights holder. The correct answer is B. Let's break it down. Riparian rights belong to landowners whose property touches a natural water source like a river or stream. These rights allow them to make reasonable use of the water on or near their land. The trap here is in how the answers are phrased. Many students are drawn to surface owner or government because they sound official. The word appropriation, which applies to government-granted rights, so they think all water rights are government-controlled. But riparian rights are different. They come automatically with the land. No permit needed, as long as the land borders the water. To avoid confusion, focus on this phrase, adjacent to water. That always points to riparian rights. Question number 4. What must a dual agent obtain from both clients in California? A. Verbal permission. B. Audio recording. C. Written informed consent. D. Broker approval. The correct answer is C. Let's look at what's happening here. In a dual agency, one agent represents both the buyer and the seller in the same transaction. This is legal in California, but only if both parties give informed consent in writing. That's required by law. Now, here's the tricky part. Some students see the word consent and stop reading. They assume verbal consent is enough, or they confuse informed with just a basic conversation. Others may think broker approval makes it okay, but none of those meet the legal requirement. What the law specifically asks for is written consent, signed by both parties. Anything less than that is not compliant. Don't get distracted by options that sound technical or formal. This one is about following the exact rule. Question number 5. Which is not a fiduciary duty of an agent? A. Loyalty. B. Obedience. C. Price negotiation. D. Disclosure. The correct answer is C. This question is tricky because of the word not. It asks what is not a fiduciary duty, and that often flips students' logic. Fiduciary duties are legal responsibilities an agent owes to their client. These include loyalty, obedience, disclosure, confidentiality, accounting, and reasonable care. They are duties defined by law. Price negotiation, while important in practice, is not one of those legally defined fiduciary duties. It's a service, not a legal obligation. Many students assume that since agents commonly negotiate, it must be a duty. But legally, it is not on the fiduciary list. To avoid missing this type of question, slow down and watch for words like not, except, or at least, they completely change the logic of the question. Question number 6. When must agency disclosure be provided in a real estate transaction? A. After closing. B. After prep work. C. Before sharing confidential info. D. Before performance. The correct answer is C. Let's break this down. In California, an agent must disclose their agency relationship, who they represent, before any confidential information is exchanged with a potential client. This is to make sure the client understands where the agent's loyalty lies before saying anything sensitive. Now here's the tricky part. The question uses the word when, and most students think in terms of the deal timeline, like before performance or after prep work. That leads many to choose D, thinking the disclosure comes right before any actual services begin. Others pick B because they assume the disclosure comes after the agent has done initial work. But that's too late. Once a client starts talking about price, motivation, or financial situation, that's confidential. If the agent hasn't disclosed agency by then, it's already a problem. So the key is, disclosure comes early as soon as the conversation turns confidential. Question number 7. If the net operating income is $45,000 and the desired cap rate is 7.5%, what is the value of the property? A. $600,000. B. $637,500. C. $675,000. D. $590,000. The correct answer is A. $600,000. Let's go step by step. In valuation, the formula is simple. Value equals net operating income divided by cap rate. So, take $45,000 and divide by 0.075. That equals $600,000. Now, here's where the trick happens. Many students confuse the formula and multiply instead of divide. They remember the cap rate formula, but flip the numbers the wrong way. Others forget to convert the percentage into a decimal, trying to divide by 75 instead of 0.075. That leads to wrong answers that look close, like A or C, which are common traps. So just remember, when you're given NOI and cap rate, divide NOI by the decimal form of the rate, never the other way around. Question number 8. Which method is most appropriate to appraise a church? A. Income approach. B. Cost approach. C. Sales comparison. D. GRM. The correct answer is B. Cost approach? Here's why. The cost approach is best for properties that are unique, special use, or have little or no comparable sales data, like churches, schools, or public buildings. Since churches don't usually generate income and are rarely sold on the open market, it's hard to use the income or sales comparison methods. This question is tricky because students often rush to choose the income approach or sales comparison, since those are more common in residential and investment properties. Others may pick GRM if they see rent mentioned elsewhere on the test, but that doesn't apply here at all. So when you see a building that doesn't sell often and doesn't produce rent, like a church, the cost approach is the correct appraisal method. Question number 9. If monthly rent is $3,000 and the gross rent multiplier is 8, what is the estimated property value? A. $360,000. B. $300,000. C. $288,000. D. $320,000. The correct answer is C. $288,000. Let's calculate it. First, Take the monthly rent and multiply by 12 to get annual rent. 3,000 times 12 is 36,000. Now multiply the annual rent by the GRM. 36,000 times 8 equals $288,000. The trick here is easy to miss. Many students forget to convert monthly rent to annual. They multiply 3,000 directly by the GRM and get 24,000, or make a guess based on incomplete numbers. That's why answers like A or D look tempting. They're based on the wrong formula, so always remember that the GRM uses annual rent and you have to convert monthly rent to annual before multiplying. Question number 10. Which loan is backed by the California Housing Finance Agency? A. VA loan. B. Private mortgage. C. CalHFA loan. D. FHA reverse mortgage. The correct answer is C. CalHFA loan. The California Housing Finance Agency, or CalHFA, is a state-level program that offers loans and down payment assistance to low and moderate income homebuyers in California. So naturally, the loan that is backed by CalHFA is the CalHFA loan. Here's the trick. Students often confuse this with federal programs, especially FHA. FHA loans and FHA reverse mortgages are federal, not state-backed. VA loans are for veterans, and private mortgages have nothing to do with government backing. So don't let the word agency throw you off. Just match CalHFA with CalHFA. It's that simple. Question number 11. Which event triggers default under a deed of trust? A. Late HOA fees. B. Missed mortgage payment. C. No title insurance. D. Failure to disclose defects. The correct answer is B. Let's explain this. Under a deed of trust, the borrower agrees to repay the loan based on specific terms. If they miss a scheduled payment, they're considered in default. The default allows the lender to begin foreclosure under California's non-judicial process. Now here's where the question becomes tricky. It lists other real estate problems, like late HOA fees or lack of title insurance, which sound serious, but they do not trigger default under the deed of trust. The deed only secures the mortgage loan. If that loan is not repaid as agreed, default happens. So when you see deed of trust in a question, focus only on what relates to loan repayment. Don't get distracted by general real estate issues. Question number 12. Which deed offers the most buyer protection in California? A. Grant deed. B. Quitclaim deed. C. Deed of trust. D. Special warranty deed. The correct answer is A. Grant deed. Here's what makes it correct. In California, a grant deed includes two key warranties. First, the grantor states that they haven't already transferred the property to someone else. Second, the property has no undisclosed liens or encumbrances. That gives the buyer real legal protection. Now, let's look at the confusing parts. Many students pick deeds of trust, thinking the word trust sounds safe. But a deed of trust is a financing instrument, not a deed of ownership transfer. Others may pick quitclaim, but that offers no warranties at all. And special warranty deed is not commonly used in California. It only guarantees against issues that happened while the seller owned the property, not before. So remember, in California, a grant deed is the one that gives the buyer the strongest assurance about title. Question number 13. Who provides the natural hazard disclosure in California? A. Buyer. B. Seller or agent. C. Escrow officer. D. Assessor. The correct answer is B. Seller or agent. In California, the seller, or the listing agent on their behalf, must disclose if the property is in a natural hazard zone. This includes areas prone to fire, flood, earthquakes, or other risks. It must be provided before closing. Here's the tricky part. The word disclosure makes people think of neutral third parties like escrow officers or government officials, so they pick C or D. But those entities do not make disclosures. They just handle paperwork or assessments. The legal obligation to disclose hazards falls directly on the seller and their representative. Don't overthink it. If it's about disclosing something to the buyer, it's usually the seller's job. Question number 14. When does title legally transfer in a California transaction? A. Loan approval. B. Escrow opening. C. Deed delivery and acceptance. D. Funds transfer. The correct answer is C. Deed delivery and acceptance. This is a foundational concept. Title, meaning legal ownership, officially transfers when the deed is delivered to the buyer and accepted. This usually happens during escrow, but it's not automatic with loan approval or money being wired. Now, here's how this question tricks people. Many test takers pick funds transfer because they associate paying for the home with getting ownership. Others choose escrow opening or loan approval because those happen earlier in the process. But title doesn't legally pass until the deed is physically or electronically delivered and accepted by the buyer. So whenever you see a title transfer question, look for those two words, delivery and acceptance. Question number 15. How long must California brokers keep transaction records? A. 1 year. B. 2 years. C. 3 years. D. 5 years. The correct answer is C. 3 years. According to California law, brokers must retain all transaction records, including disclosures, contracts, and correspondence, for a minimum of 3 years after the closing or termination of the deal. This question is tricky because there are other time limits in real estate, like tax documentation rules or license renewal periods that run on different timelines. That makes it easy to pick 5 years or even 2 years if you're not thinking clearly. But the legal standard for brokers is 3 years. That's the number you need to memorize. Question number 16. What advertising content violates fair housing law? A. Seller's race. B. Same listings for all clients. C. Keeping records. D. Disclosing agency. The correct answer is A. Seller's race. Let's be very clear. Under both federal and California fair housing laws, it is illegal to reference protected classes, like race, religion, gender, or disability, in any form of advertising. That includes print, online, flyers, and even verbal promotion. Now here's where people get tricked. The word advertising makes test takers think in terms of strategy or promotion. So they see options like same listings for all clients or keeping records and wonder if those are somehow unfair or discriminatory. But in this case, the red flag is the direct mention of race. That alone makes the ad illegal. So the rule is simple. Never mention any protected class in your advertising, even if it seems like neutral information. Question number 17. Which task may unlicensed assistants perform in California? A. Negotiate price. B. Host open house. C. Schedule showings. D. Give legal advice. The correct answer is C. Schedule showings. Let's clarify this. Unlicensed assistants in California can perform administrative tasks only. This includes answering phones, scheduling appointments, and placing signs, but they cannot engage in any activities that require a license, such as showing property, discussing price, or negotiating. Here's the trap. Host open house sounds harmless, but it actually requires a license in California. Many students assume that if the assistant isn't giving advice, it's fine. But just being present during an open house is considered a licensed activity. The same goes for negotiating price or giving legal advice. Both are strictly off limits. So when you see unlicensed assistant, think only of background, support work, not anything client-facing. Question number 18. What does the California Real Estate Recovery Fund cover? A. Office rent. B. Consumer fraud loss. C. License fees. D. Marketing. The correct answer is B. Let's explain. The California Real Estate Recovery Fund is designed to protect the public, not agents. If a consumer wins a judgment against a licensee for fraud, and the agent cannot pay, The recovery fund may reimburse the consumer up to a certain limit. Here's the tricky part. The name recovery fund sounds like something for real estate agents, like helping with business expenses or marketing costs. That leads many to pick A or D. Others pick license fees because the word real estate sounds official. But in reality, the fund is there to support victims of licensee misconduct, not to help agents with business costs. So remember, the fund protects the public, not the agent. Question number 19. What element is missing if a land sale lacks price? A. Offer. B. Consideration. C. Acceptance. D. Legal description. The correct answer is B. Let's walk through it. For any valid real estate contract in California, you need 4 key elements: offer, acceptance, consideration, and legal purpose. Consideration is something of value, usually money, exchanged for the property. Without it, there's no enforceable agreement. Now here's the confusion. If the price is missing, many students think that means there's no offer. But a contract can include an offer even without price, as long as it shows intent. Others choose legal description. But that's a different requirement used for clarity, not value. The missing price specifically means the agreement lacks consideration, which invalidates the contract. So always associate price with consideration when answering contract questions. Question number 20. Which listing must include an expiration date under California law? A. Open listing. B. Net listing. C. Exclusive listing. D. Loan negotiation listing? The correct answer is D. This is a law-specific detail. In California, any agreement involving loan modification or negotiation services must include a definite expiration date. This protects the consumer from being locked into unfair contracts indefinitely. Here's the tricky part. Most students immediately go for exclusive listing, because that's what's commonly taught. And while exclusive listings should include an expiration date under standard best practices, California law only requires expiration in loan-related listing contracts. Net listings and open listings are also distractors, but they don't carry the legal mandate for expiration the way loan negotiation listings do. So if you see anything about loan or mortgage-related services, remember, expiration date is required by law. That's 20 tricky questions you're now ready to handle on the California real estate exam. If this helped you out, hit like, subscribe, and let us know in the comments what topic you want us to break down next. So see you in the next video.